Okay, there's my unit on the bench. I've took the cover off, as you can see. That's just 2 screws on the left and 2 screws on the right, and that cover will completely lift off. Now, a couple of things I want to mention before we continue is that first of all, when you do your unit, or any unit come to that, make sure it's turned off at the mains and leave it off for quite a while, just to make sure the capacitors are discharged, etc. Or you may want to discharge any capacitors yourself, but you should be okay, I would have thought, as long as you don't do anything silly. So yeah, so make sure it's turned off and unplugged. That's very important. And also, a couple of my pictures are a little bit blurry, but you'll see what's happening anyway. And another thing is that the little LED, the little red LED that indicates stereo, is working on this unit. It's just I haven't got the aerial plugged in. I'll be showing you whereabouts that is, but I won't be replacing my one because it works, but I'll be showing you exactly where that little bulb is and where to replace it, where to find it to replace it. So with this unit, I've downloaded the manual. Now, you may or may not be able to download your manual, but we'll come to that a bit later on in the video. But I've managed my manual, and here it is. Now, the red arrow here is pointing to the 4 amp fuse coming off the transformer that supplies the voltage to these bulbs. And these bulbs in this unit is 4 of them, and they're indicated by the blue arrow, indicating 4 bulbs, and the yellow arrow is pointing to the value of them bulbs, which is 7 volt at 0.3 amps times 4 bulbs, so it's 7 volts at 300 milliamps. So if we look about on eBay, I've just dug a random ad really. There's only a few of them about, to be honest with you, but this one here, as you can see, this bloke's selling 10. Now, you may be able to buy 4 or 5, the amount you actually require rather than the 10, but as you can see, I've selected 300 milliamp, 7 volts, and these are 30mm long bulbs. Now, the ones in the unit are about 26, 27, but these ones fit fine. There is room for this bulb, but obviously if you can get the right length of bulb, you may want to take out the bulbs that are already in there and measure them lengthwise to get the exact length, but you may be able to see that a slightly bigger bulb. They're still the same thickness or roundness or diameter, it's just the length of them are slightly longer. These are incandescent bulbs. We'll come to that a little bit later on. These are like the old-fashioned type. If we go over to this bulb here, this is an LED bulb. These come in a few different colours, like red, green, and white, and a kind of two different shades of white, so to speak. A pure white and a kind of incandescent white. They're kind of values they give them. I forgot what they are, so do forgive me. But these here, as you can see, are 6 times 30mm, so you're going to get 6 bulbs. But he's got 6 times 30mm. He's got 7. 6mm by 30. Sorry, 6mm in diameter by 30 in length. And these will fit fine in our unit. But these are 8 volts, as you can see, rather than the 7 volts that our unit's actually supplying. These are bright bulbs anyway, these LED ones, but these are just to be a little bit less brighter, because for their full brightness they would require 8 volts, and we're only giving them 7. So if you're looking for LED bulbs, maybe look for the actual 7 volt ones, so you're getting the right voltage. But it won't matter so much here, because these are only drawing about 30 milliamps compared to the incandescent ones that actually draw 300 milliamps. So these are about 10 times less energy these require, or less current, shall I say. So we go over back to the bench, and there's my unit on the bench. Now we're going to find out where these actually go. So if we turn it, or shall we turn it over, shall we actually look inside, shall I say, and you can see the hours in there, that kind of cream colour hours, and all the bulbs, or 3 of the bulbs, are behind the hours, and it's just that one nut holding the housing in place. Just going to take another picture here and just show you the housing. As you can see, there's 3 bulbs behind the housing, daisy chained with a blue wire which goes down to the board, indicated by the yellow arrows, and the black wire goes down to the board, and the black wire is indicated by the red arrows. And as you can see, that does spur off towards the top right and actually go to the bulb housing of the tuning dial meter as well. And them the blue arrows are pointing to the actual meter cable going to the meter. Is actually going to move the meter. There's nothing to do with the bulbs itself, it just moves the meter, but just showing you what the extra wire is actually doing. The wires we're concerned with here are the blue and black wires, but we're not going to undo these wires or anything like that. I'm just showing you how they're wired up, and they're wired up in parallel. All these kind of daisy chained together in parallel. So we go back to that nut. We're going to undo that nut, there's another angle of that nut. It's just that one nut. Once you undo that, the actual unit will pop out as so, and as you can see, our bulbs look like they're all blown, but even though a couple of them are still, or at least one of them is still working. Now, if you didn't have the manual, you could actually take one of these bulbs out. That is that the bloke who's had this hasn't replaced them with another bulb that's not the right value. But if you have an actual look at one of these bulbs closely, you can see that it actually, on the top, on the silver, you may need a magnifying glass, around the top of each end, it's got 7V 0.3A. that indicates that 7 volts, 300 milliamps. So that's another indication. You may be able to find out what bulbs are actually in the unit. Now in this picture I've actually replaced all 3 bulbs in that unit, and as you can see I've turned it on. I don't suggest you do this, but I've turned it on to make sure it's not shorting out anywhere, just to show you what the 3 incandescent bulbs look like housed in this unit. And as you can see, they've got quite a bit of glow to them, and we're going to come to that a bit later on. So there it is with these 3 bulbs fitted, and I've also fitted a bulb to the tuning dial meter here in this photo. We'll come to that in a minute anyway, but just to show you what the incandescent bulbs look like. Now the only LED bulbs I thought I had some white ones, but all I had was blue ones. But to give you an idea here, is that you can see that these kind of concentrate the light on the LEDs itself. There's not much, the light don't get dispersed that much, shall we say. So if we can quickly compare this again to the incandescent ones, as you can see, they got more of a glow to them, more dispersed of light to the sides of the bulb, where we go back to the LED ones and they're more concentrated. Now the trouble can be with this is, as they're so concentrated and quite bright, is that on the display itself, so it's not a uniform light being given out. And as you can see here, hopefully you can pick up here, it may not be so obvious here, but I can assure you that the 90, the 96, let's just try another picture, there you go, the 90, sorry, not the 96, the 90, the 98, 100 and 106 are lit up brighter than the rest of the actual numbers on that dial on the FM scale. So if you look carefully, you'll see the 90, 98, 100 and 106 are brighter. Maybe not so clear on this picture, but trust me, they are. So it's not quite as uniform as the incandescent ones. So just bear that in mind if you're buying these bulbs. You could put like a filter behind the unit, maybe like a plastic diffuser or something like that to diffuse the light a little bit. I've heard people doing that to help diffuse, to make it uniform. Another thing you can do is actually turn the bulbs round like I've done in this picture here, so they're not actually facing outwards, they're actually facing inwards and reflecting back off the plastic of that unit. I think you get the idea here, and that gives more of a glow, and obviously it's going to be dimmer and it's going to give more of a glow. So if we actually look at a picture of that in action there now, and this is a bit of a blurry picture I'm afraid, but you're going to have to trust me again on this one. The light is more uniform here. The dial is a bit dimmer obviously, but more uniform. So if we just compare that dial with this dial here, as you can see, this is a lot brighter but a little bit less uniform than this one here. So it's just something to bear in mind if you're using LED bulbs rather than the incandescent, the old-fashioned type bulbs. Okay, so now them 3 bulbs have been replaced either by incandescent or LED ones, obviously your choice. We're going to undo the bulb and fit a new bulb in the tuning meter. This is the little housing for it here. It's got a kind of reflective silver kind of can around it. So we're going to undo these 2 screws here shown in orange. Don't have to undo them completely, just a couple of turns on both, and that kind of housing unit, that little kind of reflective screen, will just slide off. It'll just pull backwards and slide off. You'll see that it's very, very simple. And there you go. The screws are still there, but the actual can has disappeared. That's a reflective can. And this is another angle, so there's the bulb we're going to replace. So once we replace that, obviously just push the can back on and tighten the screws back up. Now if we go over to the LED, if you needed to replace that little LED for the stereo light indicator, it's kind of in between the tuning meter and the rest of them 3 bulb housing. that we replaced earlier, and it's just that one screw holding it in place. So undo that one screw, and there's the little LED, like a little mini LED, and you would have to replace that if that was not working, but they seem to last for absolutely ever, them LEDs. But there it is, just in case you needed to replace it. So that's it, that's our unit completely re-bulbed or re-lamped, or all the lamps put in, whichever way you want to put it. So I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.